Hi, welcome to Grat's Guide to Anything. We're starting a series on running a 5th edition D&D campaign on the Roll20 platform. This first video will cover creating the instance in Roll20 for you to host your game. You will want a different instance for each group of players that you have in Roll20. We'll specifically be covering what you can do with the various pro or registered accounts rather than the base free account. Partly because you can do a lot more with them, and partly because there's not a lot of videos out there on this. So here's the basic shopping list you'll need to have if you want to follow along. First item is a pro account with Roll20. If you do not have this, then much of the first few videos will still be fine, but you will not be able to use the API features, add-ins and other advanced features of Roll20. The second item is to have purchased from the marketplace in Roll20 the D&D 5th edition DM starter bundle or equivalent. If you do not have this, then certain other steps simply won't work, and that's when, especially around the area of sharing your subscriptions with your players. It'll also make items such as the Charactermancer significantly more difficult to use. In addition to those two things, there are three other things that I think it's worthwhile you purchasing, and certainly if you actually want to follow along with all the steps, then again these are required for you to be able to do everything that I'm going to be able to show you. The first thing from the marketplace in Roll20 is a product by Keith Curtis, and it's called Easy to Read Token Markers. It's cheap and I found them easy to read. As far as what token markers are, well, we'll get to that way down the track. The next two items are two modules that I recommend that you have to start with. And they're a good introduction, especially if your players are not familiar with D&D 5th edition. The first one is the short campaign called Escape from Dirge Mine. As for player levels 1 to 3, and I use this to give a good introduction to D&D 5th edition. I've placed mine, pun intended, about 2 days travel from Floria, see below. This allows it to link in the Floria campaign, and this will be the module that I will use for this series of videos. The other thing I like about the module is because it starts by stripping all the goods and chattels off the players, it actually gives a graduated introduction to the complexities of D&D, because the characters are basically starting off with, you know, what they've got on and what they can scavenge from around them. It allows you to introduce things like range combat and stuff like that later on. The last item is another campaign, and it's called Floria. It's what's called a sandbox campaign. This is the campaign that I used to follow on from the Dirge Mine, and I'll be using this towards the end of the series of videos when I show you how to change between modules in your game instance. For those of you who do not know what a sandbox campaign is, it does not have a beginning and an end script. You can sort of come in at any point and do what you want and leave at any point. There will be a number of plot hooks in the campaign, plus you can add any of your own custom adventures you want. But it really allows the characters to really decide what they want to do. And I enjoy this as the second campaign for new players, because it allows me to figure out what sort of campaign they like. Do they like delving into the murky depths of the politics, or do they like to slash, burn and kill? Do they like to interact with tradespeople and build keeps and things like that? Floria gives them the freedom to be able to find the bits and pieces that they like to do, and that'll help you to be able to figure out what sort of group they are. Okay, let's get started. And let's start by stating our learning objectives. By the end of this session, you'll be able to initialize a game instance in Roll20. I'm going to start by doing a complete at-speed step through. That will take us to the end of this first video. I'll then go through each individual item in detail in the second video so that you can go through there and figure out all the bits and bobs involved. If after watching the first video, yeah, you're fine, you don't really want to know all that detail later on, fine. Then skip to video number 3, where we'll actually talk about how you then go and customize this particular instance we've created. Let's set up a new instance in Roll20. First thing I do is I log into Roll20, www.roll20.net. I go to my games, I click on create new game. I give the game a name, Grat's test game. Add some tags to help me and the players find things. D&D, 5e, Tower Games, Escape from Dirge Mine. You'll notice that instead of spaces for some of those, I've used dashes. That's because each space tells Roll20 it's a new tag. I then select the base character sheet to use, in this case D&D 5e by Roll20. I select the module from the right that I want to use, Escape from Dirge Mine. Once everything has been selected, I click on I'm ready, create game. Give it a minute or two, and the message will appear letting you know that the module has been loaded. Right, that was straightforward, wasn't it? As I said before, if that was fine, then go on to video 3. We'll get into the basic configuration of an instance. However, if you actually want to understand what all those different options were, then watch video 2, where I'll go through each step and actually explain what that was. Thanks for joining.